What's up, guys?
Hello.
It's actually another From Friday because we're
It
recording this on
is
Friday. How
for
about that?
us.
I am Kelly, more like Ann Cooties Keen.
I am Jazzy, Kenny's hesitant sex party Dotson.
I'm I'm still laughing. Like I'm still laughing about that. It was one of the first episodes when the Matthews first got there and they were in Colony House, and and Julie was like, it was choosing day,
Yeah.
and Julie was like, Julie wanted to go with, and she's like, Donna can watch Ethan, just leave him alone in the sex house,
Right? You've been there for like one day. Why do you want it? You already conning your brother off on a stranger.
Yeah. So we are Cyborg Queen Media and From Series Podcast. The From Series Podcast can be found wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're listening to this and you would like to see the awesome t-shirt that I'm wearing today and see our faces, you can find us at Cyborg Queen Media on YouTube. And the shirt that I'm wearing today is the lovely cat shirt that we see Jade wearing a lot throughout the show. And we will, it's by the, well, yeah, this episode will go up before Sunday night. So if we get enough people at the after show on Sunday night, right after the episode, then we will give away a cat shirt that night to somebody. We also currently have a giveaway for a cameo from David Alpay, and I've seen, I've watched his intro. His intro is hilarious on his cameo page, and I've seen one cameo that he did for somebody, and it was fantastic. So you'll definitely get something good if you win that. And all you have to do to win is just be present at the episode 10 after party and be active in the chat. And you'll get an entry for each one of our after parties that you show up at and each one of our episodes that you comment on. So not for each comment, but for each episode, you'll get an extra entry. So make sure you comment on our videos, share, like, subscribe, and bring your friends so we can, show up at our after shows and bring your friends so we can give away a cat shirt because we'd really like to do that. That would be fun. So I'm so sad because we're up to episode 6 now.
Yep, only 4 left.
I'm not ready.
No, I'm not ready for the wait that it's going to be for the next season.
My God, I know. But at the same time, there's so much that I can't wait to talk about.
I know.
It's rough. Yeah. Yeah, if you guys think that we're not getting answers this season, just wait.
Oh my goodness. Please just wait.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot happening.
I've said this a couple times, but I think now that we've seen the full season, I really think that people are going to consider this like the best season of the show.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
By far, hands down. I think this might be considered one of the best seasons of television ever. It needs people.
It's pretty
watch From. Put it on Netflix.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't, I'm not going to really hint about anything that happens in the finale. But I just have to say, Catalina Sandino Marino was just fantastic.
Slayed it. Killed it.
Yeah.
Destroyed it.
She was just phenomenal.
Murdered it.
Yeah. So yeah, pay attention to her performance because she was just fantastic. I also want to say, because there was a discussion recently in one of the Facebook groups, and I just want to like, because both of us are people who participate in like we use the Facebook groups a lot. We're in there all the time, and we throw around theories like everybody else. And I just want to say, we're not throwing any theories that we throw out. Like, yeah, we've seen the season. Any theories that we throw out are not spoilers. any theories that I personally throw out, I could be telling the truth, or that I really believe that, or it's just complete bullshit. But it's something that I've believed for a long time. If it's a theory I'm throwing out, then it's one that I believed for a long time. It has nothing to do with anything that happens in the show, or or whatever. And like, it could be stuff that has happened in the show that has not happened. But if I didn't predict it, basically, if I don't predict something before I see it, I'm not going to throw it out as a spoiler. So there were, like, I don't know, like, you were getting questioned.
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna say, did you see the guy was like, why do you still have theories if you've already seen all the episodes? And I was like, because there's still more show, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know everything.
This is not the last
wizard.
Right. Yeah, this is not the last season, I promise you. But yeah, especially, I mean, oh, whoops.
Hi, David.
Hey, David. But yeah, I'm so excited for you guys to see the rest of the season. It's just, it's so good. But this episode is called Scar Tissue.
Mm-hmm.
Fatima and Ellis make a big decision about her pregnancy. Boyd fears for the future of his family. Tensions rise in the Matthews house. Randall opens up to Marielle about his fears. And I have to say that, sadly, this episode, I was just telling Jazzy about this. Sadly, this episode kind of shit on my on one of my new ships, which is Fatima and Cowboy Monster, aka Fat Boy. It kind of shit all over that ship, but whatever.
It's all right.
I've still got Jaditha and El Mono, so I'm still clinging to those two. Yeah. All right. Well, let's dive in.
Let's get into it. At the Matthews house, Jim is asleep in bed while Tabitha stares out the window. Jim wakes up with a start and turns to see Tabby standing there and asks if she's okay. Tabitha feels regretful that she went out and came back with no answers.
Damn you freaking townspeople. Do you see what you did to this poor woman?
Poor Tabs.
She did the best she could, and now she's feeling bad.
There wasn't anything she could have done.
No, not at all.
She did her best.
Yeah.
Jim is perplexed and gets up to comfort his wife. She asks Jim to please stop trying to placate her. He reminds her that he did a tiny amount of parenting for like 2 days while she was gone and acts like she skipped off to go to Cabo with her girlfriends. Tabitha reminds him that she came to him for permission and he consented, and what she was doing was in an attempt to save their daughter. Jim reminds Tabitha that they could have gone together so they could have had a higher percentage chance of orphaning their children.
Yes, exactly.
But Tabitha insisted on leaving a responsible adult at home to care for them in case something happened. Jim presents this as though it is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Jim says this is why Tabitha wanted the divorce, because it would have been easy for her to cut and run instead of trying to put their family back together. Tabby has had it. God. And she starts to yell back. She reminds him that he emotionally checked out after Thomas died, and she was pretty much solely taking care of Ethan and Julie while he poured himself into work. She says that she wouldn't have been alone after the divorce because she was already alone. Jim begins to shout again. Yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah.
Jim, frustrated, storms downstairs and slams the door, and we go to credits.
Stoking those Jaditha fires.
Yeah. He does not do himself any favors.
No, not at all.
One.
Yeah. Yeah, not at all.
Such a butt face.
he's a bit of a doorknob this season for sure.
Yeah. Tabitha sits downstairs to the kitchen table and is looking over some of Victor's drawings. Julie comes in and asks where her dad is, and Tabitha says he went down to the lake to bring back food. Julie, Julie
But
asks
Julie
if it
doesn't
has,
understand that because she doesn't eat.
yeah, Julie doesn't eat food. So
Yeah.
she's like, why can't everyone else subsist on single sips of water
Mhm.
like I do?
Yeah.
Julie asks if this has anything to do with the screaming match they had last night, and Tabitha apologizes, asking her that if she heard it. Julie says she thinks that people in Colony House heard it. Um, Over at the bar, Jade has a rough sketch of the bottle tree and is explaining his theory to Boyd. He begins to excitedly explain the difference between a wormhole and a dimensional rift to Boyd, who stops him. Boyd says he thought Jade had something exciting to show him, and Jade throws up his hands like, yeah. Boyd asks if he's gotten the bottles down from the other tree, the one that he and Sarah found out in the woods in season 1.
I cracked up when Jade was like, what, the one in Maine?
Yeah.
How? No.
How many damn trees are there? This is news to Boyd. Tells him there's a slip of paper in one of the bottles that he pulled down that says 1864. Jade excitedly looks for the corresponding number on the wall and finds it. He asks Boyd to point him in the direction of the other bottle tree. In Victor's room, Henry is playing with an old toy car and waiting for Victor, asking Victor to show him around town today, but Victor says he has something very important to do. Henry asks if he can come with him, and Victor says that it's really dangerous and he doesn't want Henry to get hurt. But then he asks if he'll go ahead and walk with him for a bit, and Henry agrees, and they walk downstairs together. Love how awkward their relationship is.
I know. But it's cute though.
Mm-hmm. At the clinic, Marielle is taking inventory of the meds when Kenny arrives with a box of supplies from the ambulance. Marielle says these items are good and are a godsend, and she goes to take the box downstairs. Boyd enters the clinic to see Randall sleeping on one of the beds, struggling as if he's having a nightmare. Christy calls out from behind, and Boyd turns to see her walking up on crutches. She tells him that Randall is doing better. She also mentions that there's a portable ultrasound machine on the ambulance, and he should bring Fatima by so she can see her baby. Boyd smiles and says that this is good news and heads out to go meet with Fatima. In Fatima and Ellis's room, Fatima sits on the couch and asks Ellis to talk to her. He says that they have to go to Christy, but Fatima declines. There's a knock on the door. It's Boyd telling them that he has good news. We move over to the pool. Donna is tossing stones down by Dale's body, which is covered by a tarp. She's begun stacking them into kind of a wall, blocking his corpse from view. Tabitha approaches and calls out to Donna, and she tells her what happened and she tells her what happened with Dale at the tree and asks if they were close. Donna says that Dale was a pain in her ass for 2 years, but they did have a lot of good moments together. She laughs, saying that he would have enjoyed watching her haul rocks almost as much as he would have enjoyed if she left him there to rot and ruin everyone's breakfast every morning.
I loved that.
Yeah, it was funny. Donna asks if Tabitha is okay and that the meeting must have been really difficult. Tabitha says she is, but she wishes she had more answers for everyone. She feels like she let everyone down. Tabitha apologizes for Dale, and Donna asks her to tell her kids hello and begins stacking the rocks again. In the woods, Victor and Henry head for the tunnels. Henry asks Victor if he really wants to be doing this, and Victor says he's picking up something that will save everyone. Henry insists on staying with Victor and going into the cave. He tells him that he just got him back and he's not going to risk losing him again. Victor agrees and pulls out a tin of plastic army men.
I don't understand. There had to have been something better than
to mark their path.
Yeah, than army men.
It's an interesting choice. They're very hard to see down on the
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah.
I also love that Henry is getting broken into Fromville so hard.
Yeah.
He finds out about it, gets there the second day, has a car accident, almost gets maimed by a monster,
Yeah.
Like, barely makes it there alive. Day 3 meets its estranged son of 40 years. Day 4, tunnels.
Yeah.
That's a fast.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Most people never go to the tunnels.
Yeah. Victor just likes to go down and play there, you know. Like,
he loves to hang out in those tunnels.
Yeah.
He instructs Henry to be super quiet, and they head into the cave. Back at Colony House, Ellis and Fatima sit on the couch in Ellis's room and tell Boyd about the issues with Fatima's pregnancy. Ellis asks if there's any possibility that the cravings are just the way that this place affects pregnancy, and perhaps there isn't anything wrong with the baby at all. Boyd informs them about the ultrasound machine, and Ellis looks to Fatima, who immediately says no. Fatima and Ellis ask for a second to discuss this, and Boyd steps out into the hallway. He leans against the wall, like, full of grief, just taking a moment to think about how awful this whole situation is. In the clinic, Marielle offers to change Randall's bandages, but he brushes her off, saying that he's fine. She says she needs to at least check for the infection, telling him that it's not something he wants to get there. He tells her that he wants to see it, and she hands him a hand mirror from across the room. He asks her for privacy, and she excuses herself. After taking a few moments to psych himself up, he turns the mirror and looks at his stitches. Clearly upset with what he sees, he puts the mirror down quickly. I think he just kind of looks like the Joker.
Yeah.
Like, he's still pretty hot. Like, it's not gonna like really.
Yeah.
I mean, the stitches look awful, but like, it looks like that she was stitching up a volleyball. But like, besides that,
yeah. I mean, he'll, you know, it's not like he's gonna have those stitches forever. He'll have a nice big scar eventually.
This is the final scene at the Matthews house before it just becomes the Matthews house.
Yes. and then the Matthews house, it becomes the Matthews house before it becomes the Jathy's house.
Jathy's. I love it.
Or I guess it would be the Horathius house or Mathera house. I don't know. Whatever.
It's gonna work out. We'll find it.
Yeah.
Back at the Matthews house, Kenny is looking around in the kitchen for the junk drawer that his mom used to keep. He steps outside and sees Julie hiding around the corner smoking weed. She offers him some, and he tells her not to press her luck. He asks her about the junk drawer, and Julie says that her dad may have reorganized. It is a nervous habit of his. This catches Kenny off guard, and Julie realizes that this has crossed a line and begins apologizing to Kenny over and over. Kenny is obviously hurt, but tells her everything is fine. He says he'll go look in the living room and for her to keep her buds under wraps. He steps back in the house and takes a beat, looking like he's kind of been punched in the gut, and looks over at his parents' shrines and then around the house. He does not feel like he belongs there anymore.
It hurt, man, to see the two side by side. That was I felt
was
that.
sad.
Yeah. I felt because we've seen her sitting there so many times in front of his dad's and now like she's right there next to him. It's so sad. Yeah, Victor and Henry are in the tunnels and he's placing his little green army men all around. And he goes to the area where he insists that Jasper was, along with a wheelchair and a clock, and none of it's there. Henry kind of he's very insistent on going back, but Victor's like, no, we need to keep going. It's important. And he says, we'll be okay. And they continue on deeper into the tunnels. Boyd and Ellis are getting ready to take Fatima to the clinic. She comes down the stairs and Elgin snaps her photo. And
so rude.
Yeah, like, come on,
So
man.
weird.
The chick does not feel well.
You know, go smile, snap. Like, that's
Yeah.
no. I need a moment to prepare.
Yeah. He says he's making a collage wall for Colony House, and yeah, I'm sure Fatima really wants a picture of her like looking completely miserable.
Right?
But yeah, Fatima really doesn't want to go, and she tells Boyd and Ellis that she doesn't want to tell Christy anything, and about the garbage eating and shit, until she absolutely has to. Jade is out in the woods when he finds the second bottle tree, and we then hear Tom's voice saying, "And then there were two. Yay, Tom's back. We love Tom." Tom says, "Ironic, isn't it? A drunk looking for answers in a tree filled with bottles." And
Tom is not there to be helpful.
Yeah, but this was my favorite part though, because just as he said it just as I was thinking it, so I just cracked up because I'm like, why is he cleaning that glass? And then Jay just laughs. He's like, "Why are you cleaning that glass?"
With the dirtiest bar rag I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Ever. Like, I would never drink out of that glass.
No, never. But he asks him why, and Tom says, "Man does what a man does." And Jade says he doesn't think that anything is there by accident. It's all by design. And Tom says that nature has a design, and that tree is not nature, just something that someone put there. Jade drinks a quick drink from his flask and says Miranda had visions of that place, and you don't have visions of things that don't mean anything. And he's just like, he's arguing with dead Tom, and he's like, "So are you gonna help me take down these bottles or what?" And Tom's like, "I gotta finish this first."
Gotta finish this glass.
Like, why is he asking? Why is he asking who he knows is not a real person that's actually there for help getting bottles off the tree?
Not tell you.
But Tom says that Jade built the Jade that built a multi-million-dollar company when everyone said he shouldn't had thicker skin, so maybe he should sober up and give that guy a call. And then he disappears, and Jade just yells back, "There's a nicer way to make your point, you know."
I love how Jade is just zero nonsense about the ghosts.
Yeah.
It's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, exactly. Ghost Tom.
Tabitha comes home and sees Ethan looking at one of Tian Chen's books, and Tabitha asks him if he learned to read Chinese while she was gone. And Ethan asks if the Lius were happy when they got married, and Tabitha tells him she's sorry that he heard the fight and that they're just scared. Ethan says he misses it when they first got there and they were too scared to be angry. Like, really? Ethan wants them all to be more scared.
Yeah.
But
classic Ethan.
Yeah. Maybe Ethan belongs in Fromville. I don't know. He's getting a little dark. But he asks what Jade's doing at the bar, and he said that's what you guys were fighting about, right? How would he know any of that? Like, that's what I don't understand.
Know. Yeah, I don't know.
How would he know that that Jade's got the pictures of the bottle trees up there? And like, I don't understand.
Yeah, no idea.
But she tells him that Jade's trying to figure out a puzzle, and Ethan looks excited by this and says, "What kind of puzzle?" And she then hears something and goes upstairs when she sees the Ankui kids, and they start cornering her from all sides. Like, one's coming upstairs, and they're just cornering her. And Ethan runs up and snaps her out of it. We go back to to Donna, who's still covering up Dale with a bunch of rocks, and Kenny says it's nice of her to do that, and she says he would have hated that. Great, a pile of rocks. That's all I get. Which
Dale is so good.
Yeah. That's totally what Ghost Dale would say.
Oh yeah.
Kenny then asks if there's any extra space that Colony has for him. And he said that she was the only thing that made that place feel like a home, and that it was meant for a family, and she'd want them to have it. And he then asks, "You're not still throwing those sex parties, are you?"
Probably.
He's actually hoping. She tells him to go.
The whole vibe's gonna change just because you're moving in, Kenny.
Yeah. Yeah, she tells him to go pack his stuff. And I thought that was so funny. Jade's at the bar figuring stuff out when Tabitha comes in with Ethan, and Jade's at first like Tabitha's like, "Can we come in?" And he's at first like I'm kind of busy, and then she's like, "Ethan wants to help," and he was like, "Oh, okay." That's kind of cute. He tells Tabitha that there's a second bottle tree, and that the numbers in the bottles are all the same, and that some of them repeat over and over, but he doesn't know what that means yet. And somewhere in there, in the numbers, is key to something that they need to understand. And he asks Ethan if he wants to help him find it, and he says, okay. Mari is still looking after Randall, who, like, he just doesn't want her help, basically, because he's just very put off by the fact that she's acting like she's okay after their experience.
Yeah.
And she ignores him, but he says, like, and I can't say I've ever been in an experience like that where I shared a trauma with somebody and they wouldn't talk about it, and I wanted to, but I could kind of see it from his perspective, like how frustrating that's got to be, because I'm sure he wants to talk about it with somebody, and she's just,
I don't know why she won't talk about it at all, like with anyone. I mean, I'm sure that's how she's processing it, but
yeah,
it's not a good way to process shit.
Yeah, definitely not. He says you can pretend all you want, but you were there, same as me. And he asks, what if it's not over? And this totally broke my heart. He's like, it's got to be easy living in a place like that, going to sleep next to someone every night and pretending that she's okay. And it's not like that on the bus. He doesn't get to pretend. It's fucking terrifying. And like, he just looks scared, like just talking about it. It just broke my heart, because I didn't even think about that, like what that's got to be like after that happened, and he still is there looking at the monsters every night,
Yeah, and they're taunting him, like they come bother him, like I'm sure they say stuff to him about whatever happened to him.
Yeah, for sure. And Marielle tells him that they have room and to go back to the bus and get his stuff, and he can stay with them, and no one has to be alone. So, before I would be like, fuck Randall, but he's softening up a bit, and I feel really bad for him. Like,
I do too.
Yeah. Victor and Henry are still in the tunnels, and Henry asks Victor how many more little green men he has, and he opens up his hand and he's got like 2 left. Like, that's not a good sign.
They are deep in there.
Yeah.
Like, deep in there.
Yeah. Henry wants to turn around, but Victor keeps leading him through, assuring him they won't get lost. They come upon an opening where Victor sees all the stuff that he was looking for, with Jasper sitting at the table and Mob Guy Monster sleeping in the corner. So, like, these things were supposed to be back in the spot that he pointed out earlier. So, like, I wonder if, you know, because he was there,
I
if
think
their
they
stuff is
moved stuff
moving
deeper
further
into
back.
the caves. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is really scary. That's a really scary thought.
Mm-hmm.
But he picks up Jasper and stashes him in the bag. And then Henry picks up a scarf and says, "This was your mother's." And then Headband Monster Lady that should have been my name, Headband Monster Lady, because I'm always like, I'm always wearing headbands. um, Headband Monster says, "You know, Victor, if you keep coming down here, one of these days we'll make you stay." And they finally rush out of there.
I don't get why, like, I understand Henry seeing Miranda's scarf and it throwing him off, but like, he was freaking out and like yelling, and he woke up the fucking big Bubba monster. Like,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
whole scene was so stressful. I was pulling my hair out. Like, I was like, Henry, get it together, bro.
Henry and Tabitha cannot shut up when they're in the tunnels.
I know.
Neither one of them.
You couldn't pay me to make a sound in one of those tunnels.
Yeah. Next time Victor brings someone down there with them, he needs to like put duct tape over their mouth.
I could find out that like Santa was real, and I still would not make noise.
Yeah.
Like, I can't think of anything that would surprise me enough to open my mouth.
Yeah.
If I was down in a monster hole.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I could see Jade and Tabitha making out in the tunnels, and I wouldn't. I wouldn't make a peep. Sorry, I have to bring it up every chance I get. It's funny because it's such a crack ship, but I'm actually serious about it. That's why it's so fun.
It's a darn good ship.
Yeah. But Julie runs into Randall as he's moving his stuff off the bus and tells her that he's moving to the clinic. And Julie asks about Marielle, and he says that she's acting like nothing ever happened. He asks how she's doing, and she says she gets stoned a lot and it helps. And he asks her if she has any on her now, and she shows him the cigarette case with the big nuggets in it. Henry and Victor get to the truck, and he holds up the scarf and asks, "Why did they have this? It's your mother's." And Victor said they just like to take things. And Henry asks what the deal is with the truck. And Victor tells him he used to hide there at night before the people came. And like, oh my God, this just devastated me. Henry was like, "Because you were alone, my God." And he just starts crying. Like, he just realizes that, you know, it's hitting him that Victor was by himself. Like,
yes.
All those years just being terrified every night. Like, oh God, it's so heartbreaking.
That's like the hardest part for me to reconcile, is that like they only found the talismans 3 years ago. So for like 37 years, Victor did not know if he was going to make it through the night every night. Like,
Yeah.
That's so stressful and terrifying and sad. Like, ugh.
Yeah. I like, God, yeah, that's rough, man.
Mm-hmm.
And Victor says everything's going to be okay now because they have Jasper and he knows things. And he said he once heard Christopher tell him a story about this place, and he's going to make him tell it again. We go back to the clinic, and they're doing the ultrasound, and it's so funny because I could, like, you know, as somebody who has a lot of chronic health issues, I could totally feel this scene.
I really like the fandom showing how they don't have any idea how an ultrasound works.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to see the rotten food and Fatima's belly, and like,
right.
Your uterus is not connected to that, but okay.
People are like that. Yeah, people are like, they'll find out the sex of the baby.
Right.
No.
The paternity.
Yeah.
Because that's something that can be determined by ultrasound.
Yeah. And they're yeah, like I don't know. I mean, she said it was the size of the well, I guess it could be an acorn. Yeah, I guess that could be an acorn. That sounded like that actually sounded a little big to me, but I guess it could be that big. But where was I? Oh yeah, so they're doing the ultrasound, and Christy and Marielle just look at each other funny, and Christy says that she doesn't see anything, that Fatima is not pregnant. Fatima refuses to believe it and insists that they keep looking. And Fatima just gets really upset and says that there's something inside of her and she needs them to find it. And Ellis then tells her, "You need to tell them." Um, Elgin is hanging up photos in Colony House. He picks up the one of Fatima and sees Kimono Lady appear behind her. And she then appears to Elgin, putting her hands on his shoulders and says, "Help me, Elgin. I can save you. I can save all of you. I can get you back home." So did you, like, when you saw this scene, did you think it was just kind of a coincidence, or did you think that, like, okay, Kimono Lady is connected to both Elgin and Tabitha somehow, or I mean Fatima somehow?
I assumed that I assumed she has some kind of connection to Fatima. But yeah, I know it's not Fatima. I never thought she was Fatima. It's a different actress. Like, I feel like if they were going to do that, they would just use the same actress and put her in prosthetics and stuff.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel like she's connected to Fatima.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Clara then approaches him and asks if he's all right. And he says he's fine. And he looks back at the photo of Fatima, and Kimono Lady is gone. His girlfriend is no longer in the photo. At the bar, Jade and Ethan are looking at the numbers, and Jade says there's got to be a pattern because some of the numbers are repeating. And Ethan points out that the number 2 on one of them is backward. And Jade mentions that the number 7 is backward sometimes as well. And he tells him to get cracking. And he goes to sit with Tabitha and tells her that the kids aren't going to hurt her because they want her help. And then she picks up a drawing of the totems and starts freaking out. And says, "What is this?" And Jade tells her that they were just scattered around the site. And she then says, 3 red stones. Did you see 3 red stones in a circle? And Jade's like, how did you know that? And we then see a scene of a little girl hiding behind the rocks and screaming. And I mean, this looks like, a scene from a very, very long time ago. And Tabitha starts crying and looks terrified. And she says that when she was a little girl, she would have the same nightmare over and over about that exact place. So that's very interesting. And that's the end of the episode. So I've been on the reincarnation train all along.
Yeah.
Now this is clearly a scene from a very long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's got to mean that either that little girl was another life of Tabitha's, or she's somehow connected to that little girl.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is Tabitha, right? Isn't that her seeing herself as a child?
Oh yeah, it is. I'm sorry, you're right. Yeah. No, she just said she had wait, did she say it was her?
Maybe not yet. I thought that was her remembering her dream that she had as a little girl.
Yeah, actually, no, you're right. I'm just being stupid. I'm sorry. It's late.
You're good.
It's late. No, yeah, that is her. That wouldn't make sense if it wasn't her. But so that's like that's really interesting because
Mhm.
being on the reincarnation train, that's not Miranda.
No, it's her.
I mean, it's Tabitha, but I think Tabitha was Miranda.
Yeah.
That little girl was not Miranda. That little girl was there before Miranda, clearly, like based on what she was wearing and everything. I mean, that was a long ass time ago, you know. So yeah, so that says to me that like Tabitha has probably been a frequent visitor to Fromville.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Very, very exciting.
Definitely. Big
um
developments.
Man. And I wonder if I'm sad that the episode ended there because I wanted to know if Jade kept Ethan in the bar all night and and start doing shots with him.
Party, Ethan.
Gotta start him young. Oh my god. But I started kind of like looking sideways at Jade and Tabitha toward the end of season 2
Mm-hmm.
when I started thinking that they were, Christopher and Miranda, but it was kind of a passing thought. And then this season, when I think it was you or somebody else said that, like, you thought that
Marin and Christopher were together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me.
Okay. Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, Jaditha is definitely happening. And it's God, where was I going with this? I totally forgot. Oh yeah, no. So the scene with him and Tom, Tom is obviously his conscience.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom's like, so he's basically telling himself he's got to stop drinking.
Yeah.
So that means that Jade's got to move out of the bar and move back into his old
move. Yeah.
He's gonna take his old room back and kick Jim out. That's what's gonna happen.
Nature is healing.
Yeah, Jim's gonna go live on the bus.
I support that. Bye, Jim.
Oh sorry, man. Stepdaddy Jade is coming. Oh yeah. And I think Tom's a Jaditha shipper, and that's why he told Jade that he needs to get sober so he can get him out of the bar and get him back into the Matthews house. So why am I drawing a blank? Oh yeah. So who are your pancakes and box people for this week?
Pancakes, I think I'm gonna go with Henry. Stepping up, Henry. Going into the freaking tunnels on like your second day in town.
Yeah.
Henry walked right into a monster hole. That's intense. Good job, Henry. Yeah. And then I think my box is probably gonna be Jim because he's only in one scene, but fuck is he grading?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a fan.
I'm also putting Jim in the box.
Get on in there. He's the worst person in this episode by a stretch.
Yeah. He was not cool. And like, oh God. Somebody made the comment that on Facebook, and I thought was so funny that he could be that he's a dad or a husband, but he can't be both. He's incapable of being both at the same time.
One or the other. That's all I have the capacity for.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, just He's
He
intolerable.
made me parent for like 2 days. Shame on you.
Oh, and yet, and yet he's trying to like run out of Colony House at night. Like, weird stuff's going on, and he's like, a scary man is talking to him over the radio, and he just runs off. He's like, "Watch my kids!" Stupid Jim. he like he. I was so happy to see him actually be the voice of reason for once last week. It was such a refreshing change. But yeah, this week he's just back to being doorknob Jim.
Back to Jim.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna give pancakes to Marielle.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Good
that was
choice.
really nice of her to, to ask Randall to move in with them, because
she's probably the only person who's thought about the fact that Randall is suffering. Yeah. Like, period.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, he needed to get off that bus.
Yeah, he really did. It was not helping his mental health at all.
No, not at all. So yeah, good on her for doing that. It would be nice if she actually opened up and talked to him, but like that was really good that she did that, because he needed that desperately. But I mean, he put himself on the bus, but he didn't need to still be there at that point. But and I think he's kind of like, they have Acosta now, so like they have a new and worse Randall. So they're gonna make Randall more tolerable now,
It's time for him to get humanized.
Yeah, exactly. Which, I mean, which is believable, because it's not like he's a total villain. I mean, he's been really helpful.
Yeah.
He's just a fucking asshole who can be like seriously unhinged. But so just to remind you guys, we host, again, if you're watching this, you can find the audio version from Series Podcast on any of your favorite podcast apps that you listen to. And if you're listening to this, you can find the video version of this podcast on Cyborg Queen Media on YouTube. We also host several other podcasts. Right now, we are also covering the Daryl Dixon. We got the Daryl Dixon podcast. All of our podcasts are also available on our YouTube channel with the video. We've got the Daryl Dixon podcast, which is the Daryl and Carol spinoff, and we only have one more episode left of that. Then we've got the Teacup TV podcast and Death Crunch, which is our Hysteria podcast. Hysteria is on Peacock, and it's fantastic. I'm absolutely loving it.
It's really fun.
Yeah. And then, of course, we've got the Antler Queens, which is our Yellow Jackets podcast. And make sure you're following us on social media, because we're going to have an announcement about that next week. And we are at Cyborg Queen Media on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok, and Cyborg Queen TV on X. We are currently looking for a social media person, because we're really busy, and we, myself in particular, it's not, social media just isn't really a safe place for me to be right now, because I get a lot of hate. But so we're looking for a social media person. So if you're frustrated that, we don't post enough or whatever, we're trying to fix that. Also, we have Cyborg Queen Media has become part of TV Serier, which we'll be explaining more as it goes along, but it's kind of like it's basically a fan site, and we're going to be a featured contributor on there. And make sure you check that out. You can find us there on all of the social media apps, and they're always looking for contributors too. If you have like a thought that you want to send in, like on a TikTok video or a blog, if you run a fan blog, send in an email and maybe they'll add you on there. But we're eventually going to have merch on there, and you'll find all of our episodes, etc. So it's going to be kind of like, we're a featured contributor, so it's going to be kind of like our own little mini website within the website, if that makes sense. We are also starting the Severed Floor podcast, which is our severance podcast. We will be starting that, after the fall season, because the fall season is crazy. And we're going to be recapping season 1 before season 2 starts. And then we've got, also in 2025, we are going to be hosting the Dairy Queens podcast, which is going to be the Welcome to Dairy podcast. Yeah.
I really like that.
It had to be, it had to be Dairy Queens. But thanks so much for joining us, everybody. And make sure you stop by our after parties every Sunday night immediately following new episodes From.
Oh yeah.
Because you could win a David Alpay cameo, or you could win a cat shirt. So we are also in the middle of trying to set up several interviews right now with cast members. So you can look forward to that very soon. Lots of stuff going on. So it's this fall season is kind of nuts. But all right, guys, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll